What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 30 Minutes of Hell. I am your host, Brandon Baker, joined by Joey Jackson and Matt Jackson. Quick reminder, we are brought to you by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. You can find us on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, subscribe, comment, share the podcast. We greatly appreciate it. We've got some Arkansas basketball to talk about. It was an 0-2 week, but it could have been worse if that. We'll get into it. We'll explain. But the Hogs tournament hopes are still alive. They lost a couple of close games to a couple of good teams. There's some external stuff going on outside of the current team with some NBA guys and some other stuff that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But let's just get right into it. Over their last six games, Arkansas has now they're 3-3, but all three losses have come by single digits to teams currently ranked in the top eight. And it's like we know that Arkansas is not a top 10 team, but they're playing like a top 15 team that just can't get over the hump against these really good teams. And I just feel like their record lately, right? Don't like we lost to Oklahoma, that's a bad loss. We lost to LSU earlier in the SEC play, earlier in the season, there were bad games. Over the last 3 to 4-ish weeks, they have looked like a great team, and we've continued to see that. Against A&M, that was just like it was a hard game to watch because A&M just plays such a weird, like tough style of basketball. They have a very disruptive defense that's like almost like a zone, and you can't get into any of your stuff. And they play hard. It's almost like they're always reaching. They don't have very many good offensive skilled players, but every single player on their team is going to crash the glass. They get a bunch of offensive rebounds. They get all the loose balls. They get deflections. They force turnovers. It's just ugly basketball, and they win that way. I mean, they make up for their lack of talent with their ability to play harder and nastier than their opponents. But Arkansas still had a chance to win that game late. They end up losing by 8 points, but you give yourself a chance late in the second half, and there's not a lot more that you can ask for against a top 10 team like that. Eventually, the Arkansas is going to have to figure out how to get over this hump, win a couple of games that they give themselves a chance to win. But context is important that this is a good team that they lost to. Auburn is a fantastic, it's an elite team that they have lost to and had a chance to win, right? Like they're going toe to toe with everyone they face lately, no matter how good the other team is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just a testament to one, Cal's coaching, two, just the team wanting it. We really saw this turnaround after Boogie went down, and everyone, I don't think there was a single Hog fan that was happy about that. We as fans, like you just think the guy who's been playing the best, he goes down, your season's in the dumpster. And
Yeah,
that was
and we were
the
1-6 at the time. I mean, I
yeah,
felt like the season was over.
yeah. It was, and it ended up being the total opposite. The guys really rallied around each other. We've talked week after week. We love what we've seen. Like even in the losses, we talked about moral victories last week. Even in the losses, like we are competing with these Final Four level teams like Alabama, Auburn. Both of those teams are Final Four caliber teams, and we held them on the ropes, and we did everything we could really. Um, it it comes down to I hate that it's this simple, but it comes down to making shots. It comes down to making shots down the stretch. It comes down to making free throws. I mean, I was talking to y'all last night during the game. If Big Z shoots 25% from three, if he hits two threes, we probably win that game. If we go 10 from 14 from the line instead of 7 for 14, it's a completely different ball game. Like those are just easy things that can be done to change the tide. I think another thing that is, I feel like it's touched on every game, but Thero being as athletic as he is and as strong as he is just doesn't get a whistle nine times out of 10 driving to the rack. And you see that a lot with guys of his athleticism. He's so tough in the air. When he gets hit or he gets bumped, he doesn't jar as much as another guy does. And therefore, he doesn't get, as many foul calls as we would expect him to. That's nothing against how the Hogs are playing, or anything. It's just like kind of the curse of being that caliber of a player, which sucks. But it's just one of those things that you just kind of add to the list of, okay, well, this went wrong, and we're not getting these calls, so we're not getting these points, and we very easily could be 6-0 in our last 6 games with how much we've competed, how close we've held these games. It's just the little things. You like I said, you hit a couple more threes, and hit a couple more free throws. You come away with a big win, big road wins.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the little things on offense that we are missing, but our defense has been phenomenal. That's what's kept us in these games. I don't think our offense has been that good overall. I feel like there's a lot of just little things that we mess up. Run killers. That's the thing. We go on a 6-0 run, and then we do something completely stupid on offense, and that
We're great in
ruins that
stretches.
run. Yeah, and it just kills me because we bring it back and we get up by 1 point, and then we give up 8 points because we do stupid stuff on offense, like turn the ball over 17 times against Texas A&M, And I get that their defense is great too. They were fouling or whatever you want to call it, playing defense and getting turnovers, but like we ruin our runs like that. That's the issue. DJ does a stupid pass, or Big Z goes and does a step back three after going 0 for 9, and it ruins it. And it's those little things that we have to fix, and I don't know how to fix it because I just think we're a bad offensive team. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
We
they're,
can't
they're
shoot.
not good offensively. They
Yeah.
they find enough offense at times from random places. Like there's no consistency in where it comes from and how often they go on scoring droughts that last way too long. And like other teams may go on like an 8-0 run, but that might happen over the course of like 6 or 7 minutes of game time. Like it doesn't feel like the other team is streaking because our defense is still doing pretty good, but we have just gone for 6 minutes of game time without scoring a point.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
that, you just can't do that.
It's so
Yeah.
aggravating. But going to the positives, there are two guys that have been killing it recently, and there are young guys. Carter Knox and Billy Richmond are being the best versions of themselves. Like they are playing great, out of their mind. Big time with Carter Knox. He has stepped up in these last 2 games and playing a big time role on offense. And I wouldn't mind seeing more of just him, letting him kind of run some plays for him and just let him get going because I feel like he's our most efficient at this point.
And I'm gonna take credit on behalf of all of Razorback Nation by saying my Christmas wish was for Carter Knox, and ever since that day, he
true.
has been on his game.
He's been a stud.
Yeah, we can't deny that. Joey may have called that one into existence by himself. I agree
really
with you
do
completely,
think so.
Matt, because like Knox has done a fantastic job. Like early in the season, we all talked about how he kind of was not sure of his role and he just kind of needed to let the game come to him, and he's doing it perfectly now. Like
Mhm.
whenever he gets open looks or whatever, he's putting it up, he's getting to the rim. But I do want to see a little bit more aggression out of him. Like the efficiency is there. He's doing it now. Run some sets for him, but also go get it, Carter. Like he's shown the ability now. He's comfortable enough that he's starting to hit these mid-range pull-ups, like and get to the rim. He had some athletic finishes against Auburn. Like go get it. We need the offense from somewhere, and he's finally playing like the film from his high school days suggested that he
Yes.
might play. Like
Yeah.
he's shown up now.
Yeah, I mean, these last 2 games, what, 12 for 15? Is that right? Yeah, 12 for 15. He's so efficient. He takes good shots. Let him. And thing is, he's before Big Z absolutely shot that dud last night. He's our best 3-point shooter. I mean, he's the most efficient with it, I think. Other than, when Big Z gets going, his shot's pretty, but I can't say that after being over 9.
Yeah, he's
Well,
He
weird
hits
right
when
now.
he's open. He hits when
and
he's open.
and Knox plays with so much passion, so much energy,
Hmm.
almost to a fault. Like we saw him get a technical just for getting chippy last night. And I love seeing the fire out of the young guys because we don't see that we haven't seen that in a long time with a Razorback player, I feel like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Did he actually get a technical?
I think they ended up waving it off. They went
I
back to
thought so.
review. I
Oh,
Because
don't think they ever
yeah,
gave him the
he
tech, but
he
yeah, I mean,
shoved
he
oh,
the
you're
shoved the
right,
guy.
you're right.
Big
Yeah.
Yeah.
now Big Z did, and
Yes.
I am not a fan of the stare down technical fouls. I think if you absolutely block the dog out of a guy, stare him down a little bit, let it go. I get like controlling the game, but come
Yeah.
on. But then
Z
I'm also gonna get mad at
Z Z
yeah,
pushed that limit just a little bit because the guy was on the ground and it wasn't just a stare down. He came and like looked over him. Like
yeah,
he
Yeah.
that's
came and
fair.
looked.
That's fair.
He pushed like I agree with you. They take a little too far as trying to like
Yeah,
control the game and not let emotions get too high, but Z pushed that one just a little
yeah.
bit.
But if you're gonna call that one, you gotta call the first stare down from Auburn.
Well,
Yeah,
they
Chad
they
They
Baker
did
they
they
Mazara.
warned
did
him. They
they
gave him a
they called
warning,
it.
and they
Yeah, they
called it the
called it the
second
second
time.
time around.
Which
Yeah.
that's
They did.
that's smart. But you called it immediately on Z. I feel like you have to immediately call it there too. Keep it fair. I mean, that's a stare down either way. Who cares? We lost. Boo.
Yeah.
What are our
Well,
thoughts on that?
oh, okay. So, kind of, Matt, you were talking about something earlier that kind of sparked my thought. You talk about doing the little things, and on both sides of the ball. Like we're great on defense most times, but on offense, we're lackluster. I One of our biggest, I don't even know if I want to say mistakes, faults. I don't know what happened. It felt like the man had bet against us last night. Brazil. He ended up in a little over 8 minutes of play being +4. How the hell? I don't know. I have no clue because that man, he tipped the ball into Auburn's basket.
That's
He
the
had
reason.
he
He's
had
plus
a
four for Auburn.
he had a turnover in crunch time when we were rolling, and then he hits the ball out of Billy Richmond's hands at the end of the game when we could have went down and tied it with a three. I I know that Brazil is a very polarizing player for a bunch of fans, for many people. I have been raving on him all season up until these last couple games. It felt like a flip or a switch has flipped, and I don't know what he's doing out there. Genuinely, I have no idea what was going on in the Auburn game. It felt like every time he got the ball, it was a mistake. And I that just goes back to, you hate to harp on the ifs, but honestly, maybe if Brazil hadn't played last night, we maybe could have won that game. And I hate to say that because I don't want to bash any athlete. I don't want to bash, a Razorback especially, but it just felt like every little thing that he did, it was he was scared of Auburn or he was scared of messing up, and then it resulted in him making these
Yeah.
huge mistakes.
I will stand by it. I feel like Brazil always plays afraid to make a mistake. I really do. I feel like he has so much pressure on himself, which why right now, I have no idea. He should have been thriving with Big Z going 0 for 10. He should have
Yeah.
been. Because we needed somebody to hit an open three every once in a while, and he can do that. We know he can do that. And we need electric play. We know he can do that, but he didn't. In 9 minutes, just about, of game time, he got two fouls, a turnover, and somehow went +4. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't
But
get it. I don't
and
get the
then
+4.
sparking an Auburn 6-0 run with his own touch. Like he popped that thing in. I was like,
And
Brazil, why?
he's not looking to score on offense. Like
No.
earlier in the season, he was like he'd catch it, he'd put up
Yeah.
a three, he'd drill it, or he'd take a dribble, get to the rim. Like he's just not looking at all to
He's
score offensively.
he's
It
scared.
looks like
He
it looks like the confidence thing. Like you
yeah.
said it, Matt.
Yeah,
It looks like he's playing scared a little bit. But early in the season, we talked about like with guys like Nelly playing. They don't have the confidence. It feels like he second guesses everything he does, whether it's a
Yes.
shot, a pass, going for a rebound. All the time, it feels like he's jumping out of position defensively when he's like in help side defense, and it may not immediately lead to a problem, but it leads to like a rotation that didn't need to happen, and it'll
Mhm.
leave somebody else open in the corner or somebody open at the rim. I think in the Texas A&M game, Big Z was chasing a guard to the rim, and I thought Z had a good enough angle on him to contest the shot, but Brazil still came over and tried to block the shot. And I think it was Wade Taylor because I think he had like a reach around pass to the big there because Brazil left the man standing wide open. And there's just so many times where it just feels like he's just a little out of position and he's just not playing the cohesive style of basketball we've seen from the other, 7, 8 guys that are playing well right now.
And you know that out of positioning on guys going up for layups, that's what happens when you have two shot blocking focused bigs on the court together too.
It does. It
Neither
does.
one of those are neither one of those guys are guys who will just contest a shot. They're going to swat the heck out of it every time the ball goes up.
Yeah. And in theory, when you play two bigs like that, you want better rebounding, but you're absolutely right. When they're both shot blocking and both of them even like, go for steals, like they generate
Hmm.
they generate counting stats on defense. And so not often are too often are they both out of position for a rebound because they're both going for a steal or a block or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt, you touched on it just a second earlier with Knox and also Billy killing it. I feel like we didn't give Billy enough credit for how well he's been playing lately. And I just want to say, like, and he's not necessarily stuffing stat sheets still, but talk about doing like the little things right. Like he is getting to where he's really like finding like seams in the defense. Like he's making better drives. He had a really good finish against Auburn, had a couple back-to-back dunks that sparked a little bit of a run for the Hogs. And he's playing really well this year. He's kind of been forced into a backup point guard role, kind of without Boogie. Whenever DJ goes to the bench, we run things through Billy. I just got to say, I am very excited at the thought of him coming back next year and being a little more polished.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing it this year and how well he's helping this team, and who knows where this team is going to end up. But I can't help but like when I watch him and think about his progression, I cannot wait to see what he looks like next year.
Yeah, I just can't help but think like if Billy comes back and if Carter Knox comes back, like those two in particular,
Yeah.
oh,
I think it's a
paired
good
with the
shot
two that we
too.
got, yeah,
Yeah. I'm going to get into that here in a second. There's a little recruiting update that we're going to give right at the end, and I'm going to talk about kind of the what the core could look like next year, but we'll get into that here in just a minute. But first, we're going to take a quick break for some ads, and then we're going to come back with a Missouri preview, talking a little bit about some NBA guys. It was All-Star Weekend, some other stuff going on with some pro hogs, and then a quick recruiting update. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 as we all get ready for the best month of the year, March Madness. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use the bonus code FIELD150 and you will get $150 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's the best part. All you need to do is deposit and bet $5 of your hard-earned money. This is how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD150. That's FIELD150. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD150 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available in one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in Philly or New York, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create a new account in each state. It's easy, it's simple, and it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the conference tournaments and for the NCAA tournament. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boost, and my personal favorite, a nice little parlay boost here and there. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Big news, guys. I am thrilled to announce that we have partnered with Autograph, a company founded by the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. The Autograph fandom app gives you access to the best college hoops content fan contests, and exclusive rewards like discounted tickets, all for doing the things that diehard fans like you already do, following your favorite team in the news and listening to podcasts just like this one. When Tom, and yes, I am calling him Tom, we're on a first name basis these days, co founded Autograph, he had one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. It works like this: you get all of your college hoops content you want in one place. You get articles from your favorite writers, pods from your favorite hosts, contests from your favorite creators, all on the feeds and the sites that you already enjoy. But instead of having to go to all these different places, it all comes to you in one spot: the Autograph fandom map. But here's the best part: the more content that you consume, the higher you rank in the app. As you consider to level up in status on the app, you can unlock unique rewards curated exclusively for you. So download the free Autograph app in the App Store and use the referral code F68, that's F68, or tap in at the link in the description below or in the podcast app of your choosing to start earning points for doing something as normal as listening to this very podcast.
Okay, up next is a rematch with Missouri, team that Arkansas lost to earlier in the year. It was kind of like the last game before we started playing better. Like we've been talking about how the Hogs have been a different team lately. That was kind of the last game. That was the last game that Boogie played in. He was like 2 of 15 or 2 of 13 from the field because he had a broken thumb in that game. It was it was a weird like setup. Like Billy only played 12 minutes in that game and he fouled out in less than 12 and a half minutes in that game. This was the first game that Big Z actually played big minutes in the SEC. Prior to this, he'd only been averaging like 8 minutes a game. Against Missouri, he stepped up like 30 minutes and had 14 and 10, his first double double, I think, on the season. So this was like a weird game a couple, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And since then, Arkansas has really turned a corner. And a lot of it is because of the shift in roles. Boogie's not there. DJ went back to playing point guard. Big Z started killing it. Carter Knox and Billy both kind of found their rhythm. Like there's a lot of factors. But I'm very interested in this rematch because it was a game where before Arkansas really turned that corner, before we started seeing the team that we see now. But in that game, Mizzou had a pretty balanced scoring attack. Mark Mitchell, their best player, 6'8", Duke transfer. He's a beast. I mean, he's just a versatile forward. It's a good matchup with Thero. He had 17 points in that game. Caleb Grill comes off the bench for Missouri, is a deadly shooter, went 3 of 5 from deep against Arkansas. And then his last game had 25 points against Alabama. Bama's not a great defensive team. 25 points against anybody, especially as a bench player, is really, really good. So that is a shooter that you cannot lose sight of him. I talk about it a lot. I feel like whenever we play against a team and they have that one guy I feel like can really just string together an 8-0 run by himself. I think that hurts Arkansas often whenever their offense struggles. Caleb Grill is that guy for Missouri. I think he could rattle off 3 threes in a row within 50 seconds of each other and before you even know what happened. Um, but other than those two guys, I mean, Missouri's like they're an experienced team. They're a really good offensive team. Bart Torvich has a metric on his site where you can go and adjust like weeks, like a time frame on how a team has been playing in a specific period of weeks or specific period of games. And since we played Missouri last, I think he has them ranked as the number 2 offensive team in the country since the last time we played them. On the flip side of that, he has Arkansas ranked as like the number 6 defensive team in the country with how well they've been playing lately. So that I mean that's a matchup of Titans almost in their respective, like it's weird to call the Razorbacks a Titan right now. I understand what their record is. But a top 6 defense versus a top 3 offense, like that's you're going to be butting heads. Something has to give in that matchup. Since Missouri played Arkansas, they have played only 3 teams that have a defensive rating as good or better than Arkansas. They are 1 and 2 in those games. They've lost 2 out of 3 against teams that are as good or better defensively than Arkansas. Some hope to hang your hat on, playing in front of your home crowd in Bud Walton Arena. This is not going to be an easy game. It's not quite the same as playing number 1 Auburn, number 2 Alabama, number 8 A&M. Like that was a crazy stretch of games. this will be a little different, but by no means is this an easy game. I think this is probably the toughest game they have left on this 5 game stretch to end the season. And in this 5 game stretch, they still got to find 3 wins minimum, probably 4. But I think if Missouri is one of the wins, you could probably get away with 3 wins because of how well they've been playing. I think that a win against the Tigers here on Saturday would really boost the resume if you're able to come away with a win just because of how good they have been. I mean, they just put up 110 points on Alabama in their last game, just destroyed them. So again, incredibly good, tough team playing very, very good basketball right now, especially offensively, but a huge opportunity to finally get over that hump. Arkansas has been going toe to toe, been giving themselves a chance against a bunch of good teams, but they've got to get one eventually. Like, you've got to get away with some wins and stop just saying we gave ourselves a chance if you want to get to the tournament. This would be a big one. This would be a huge win.
So, Brandon, let me ask you this. Um, do you- let's say we lose this game on Saturday, and we only get 3 out of our next 4 after Missouri. Um, do you, based on how well Arkansas has played in this second half of the season, even if we come away with only 3 wins in these last 5, um, do you think that that gives us enough hope to make the tournament? Do you think that gives us a fighting chance because of how well we've been playing?
I think the 3 wins still does matter to who it is. I mean, but just assuming that 2 of the wins are against Texas and South Carolina, because I think those are your only 2 quadrant 2 games left. You pick up both of those. I don't think they can afford to lose a quadrant 2 game if they only have 3 more wins. So
Yep.
assuming both of those are wins, and then you pick up one more somewhere else, um, at that point, it becomes very dependent on how the rest of the teams on the bubble play. It becomes very dependent on Texas and Wake Forest and these other teams that are right here in the same position as Arkansas. I think their wins stack up against anyone in the country, anyone in their position, right? Like, obviously not talking top 4 seeds or anything like that, but
Mhm.
your wins, a neutral site against Michigan, at Kentucky, at Texas, like, these are big wins. And even in their close losses recently, even so, for example, the Auburn loss, they went up in a lot of metrics because of how they played Auburn. So I do think that if they can continue the way they're playing, that they should get in. But I should also say, if they continue the way they're playing and play as good as they have been, it shouldn't matter. They should get more than 3 wins over this stretch if they truly are playing that well.
Agreed.
But 3 more wins, not counting Missouri, leaves a lot in the hands of the committee. It gives you a good resume, but it is, I mean, it's going to be, a sweaty Sunday waiting on the selection to come out. Uh, and we forget too that the SEC tournament comes after that. I don't think like I feel like the committee never puts a ton of weight on the SEC tournament. If you win 3 games and then you get all the way to the finals of the SEC tournament, that might hold some weight. But if you get 3 wins and then you only get 2 wins in the SEC tournament, I don't know that that really matters that much,
Well,
if that
I
makes sense.
I wonder if it'll be, if a little extra weight will be on the SEC tournament this year with how strong the SEC is.
That's a
Yeah.
good point because I mean, a lot of times, like I just said, if you only win 2 games, that means you beat like maybe the 12 seed and the 7 seed in the
Hmm.
SEC, and that's not that much. But right now, the 12 seed is us, like a bubble team. You know what I mean? Like a team
Yeah,
playing some of their best basketball. So
exactly.
it
Yeah.
very well could. You never know. But that's how I feel about the bubble watch right now, though. I
Yeah.
think you got to get 4. I think if you beat Missouri, you take a little pressure off yourself, but you got to win several
Yeah.
of these games.
The metric of we would have had a 52% chance of making the tournament just where we were
Just
at,
off that Auburn
just off of
win.
that Auburn win would have been
Yeah.
crazy. We wouldn't have
Yeah.
been having this conversation. We need this many more. We'd be like,
Yeah.
all right, beat Texas and South Carolina. We good.
Yeah.
Like we're in. But
Yeah, I think if you beat Auburn, then you could win any remaining 3 games, maybe even just 2 if Missouri is one of them, and you're probably good. But
yeah,
here we are.
big game.
All right, so quick quick recruiting update. It seems like Nate Ament is having a lot of motion right now in his recruiting. Big 6'9", 3'4" hybrid forward. Uh, it Arkansas has always kind of been in play, but it seems like it's becoming um like a recruiting battle, I guess, but just in terms of money, like it's who the highest bidder basically. And Cal was in to see him recently. Went and watched him play this week, I think, before the Auburn game, if I remember correctly. And there's been some whispers of momentum that it could be Arkansas, that he might end up here, but it probably will depend on how much we're willing to pay. Um, I think that he demands a high price. He's the number 4 player in his class right now, a big versatile forward. I think he's a day one starter wherever he goes. Um, but just something to watch. I think that he is probably one of only maybe 2 or 3 other guys that Cal could get to finish out this class. It's very possible that he just rolls with Acuff, Thomas, and then Isaiah Seeley from Springdale. It could just be those 3 guys. I think if Nate Ahmet doesn't come here, but keep an eye on him. I don't know when he's supposed to announce, but there's been some steam picked up towards Arkansas over the last week. Where that leads, I don't know. I think it'll still be a highest bidder situation, but keep your eyes on that recruit. Outside of that, there's been some weird stuff and fun stuff going on in the NBA. We got some hog bits. We haven't had a hog bits section in a while. We've been so focused on what's happening on the court. Starting off, Bobby Portis got suspended earlier. We're recording on Thursday. Bobby Portis got suspended earlier today for what really I think is bullshit, honestly. Like,
Agreed.
if the story is true, and Bobby seems like the kind of guy that this would be the true story. Like, I don't think that he was intentionally taking things that, helped him. He just has never seemed like that kind of guy or player. Um, but long story short, essentially his assistant, his trainer, whoever's helping him with his injury rehab, he had banged up his elbow, I believe, essentially just mixed up the names of 2 medications, just painkillers. And one of them was on the NBA's illegal drug list, the other one was not. And because of that, he got hit with a 25 game suspension, which, first of all, is crazy in itself. I think that type of drug, type of substance, maybe there should be some different tiers of suspension levels, at least if you're not, doing anything crazy, like if it's just a painkiller. But I don't
Yeah.
know if that will get appealed, if he will get to have that suspension shortened. But as it stands, he pretty much misses the rest of the season. He might come back with like 5 games left. But that sucks for Bobby. Yeah.
I don't even know why that tramadol, I think, is what it was. I don't even know why
Tramadol.
that's yeah. I don't even know why that's in the banned substances.
Well,
I really don't know because it is a painkiller and it's a very low grade painkiller. I don't know if it does anything to the body that like is considered performance enhancing or just maybe is just kind of like a I don't know, just a drug that people take for fun. But I never see it. It's an old drug. It's very old, and
well, my question is, I agree with you, Brandon. I feel like that doesn't sound like something that Bobby would abuse. Like, but if it was really like a one time mistake, would that show up on a test? Like, if he took 1 pill, 2 pills, like, is that gonna?
Depends, I guess, but yeah, I
yeah,
mean, we don't know that it was 1 or 2. Like, if his assistant really mixed up the bottles, like mixed up the names, he could have been taking it for the last week. Like we don't know how much he
And
took of
that's
it.
a bad assistant.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, and the names were like, what was it like? I don't remember the other drug,
Toradol and tramadol
Toradol,
or
and
something.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
very
mean
close names.
they were both painkillers. I mean,
Yeah.
why one? I just don't get why one is banned and the other one's not. But it's stupid. I'd appeal it. I'd
Yeah.
get something because Bobby doesn't deserve that.
Bobby deserves better. Bobby for president. All right. On some positive, on a more positive note, we had a couple of pro hogs participating in NBA All-Star Weekend last weekend. Shout out to Anthony Black, played in the Rising Stars game on one of those teams. He had a decent outing. I don't think that his team won the first game, but got to play with some of those young stars. It's just a cool recognition for a young guy to get to play in that game. And then Moses Moody, partially because All-Star Weekend was held in Golden State and San Francisco, but he represented the hometown team in the Skills Challenge and honestly killed it. Like I don't know if you guys got to watch that, but Moses was the best player in the Skills Challenge. Like he made every shot that he took, he was killing it. And then Draymond Green sold it. I mean,
Who would have
Draymond
thought?
missed all of his shots.
Would have thought.
They made it to the finals, and Moses had a great run. And like, I think Draymond missed it by like 7 seconds or something because he couldn't make a shot.
Oh,
But
Leave
Draymond.
it to Draymond to do that.
Yeah.
But shout out to the young Pro Hogs. It's cool to see. It's so cool still to see. I think it's 11 or 12 guys now that played for the Razorbacks that are in the NBA, and there's going to be several more over the next 5 years with Cal here. But it's cool to see, and it's even cooler to see them get, the recognition like that as a young rising star, get to participate in All-Star Weekend. So that's pretty cool. Shout out those guys, AB and Moses Moody. All right. That's all we have for you guys today. Arkansas's got a tough stretch, 5 games left, got to get a few wins. But I think they can do it. I'm optimistic about how they've been playing. We're just gonna have to see if they can get enough to get over the hump and get in the tournament.
That's a
Quick
lot coming
reminder,
from the stat guy.
It is.
yeah, I'm usually pretty pessimistic about things, so I'm pretty optimistic about how they've been playing. I think they get there.
He's running off of pure vibes today. Pure
Vibe
vibes. No more stats for
Vibe.
Brandon.
No more stats. They have not been treating me well for the last couple of seasons. Vibes and vibes only. Quick reminder, we are brought to you by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. You can find us on Twitter, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your stuff. Please like, comment, leave a review, share the podcast, tell your friends. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us out a lot, and we just love talking basketball with you guys. I've been your host, Brandon Baker, joined by Joey Jackson and Matt Jackson, and as always,